I was hoping Barbara's going to be home today, but I guess she's still on vacation. I'm excited for her to share her news. I know Pastor kind of gave a little blip of it. It's different when you hear from the person that happened to, so I'm waiting for her to come back home and share that. Trying to think. I got a bunch of big things in my head, but it's in the future, so we'll have to worry about that later on. So, Miss Sierra is still away. She had a friend got married this weekend, so she's in Wisconsin. So, but she'll be home today. So we'll have Miss Sierra back. Miss Sierra Green back on Wednesday night. Yes, if you're watching Sierra, we missed you, but she's on a plane. I know she's watching.
There's one right on the plane.
So other than that, I don't think we have any prayer requests. I don't know. Okay. Well, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Jackie, go ahead and pray this morning. I was thinking who I would expect.
Let's just stand and honor the Lord this morning. Father, we worship you. We give you praise. We give you honor. God, it is an honor to be able to stand in your presence in such a place as this, Father. We welcome you, Holy Spirit. Do what you do in us and for us this morning. God, we stand. We have questions. We have prayers. We have needs. Father, submerge us in your water. If our lamps are a little dry, Father, put a little oil in our lamps this morning, Father. We seek you. We seek your face. We seek your hands. We seek your knowledge and your wisdom, Father, for everything about us, Father. And this morning we call forth the sinner. Call them unto this place, Father. Call them unto you, Father. Let us be that witness that stands in the gap for the sinner, God. And the words that come forth from our mouth that would penetrate their very heart. Remove the scales from their heart. Remove the scales from their eyes, Father. Pull the plugs from their ears. Let them see and feel and hear you and your word, God. Draw the sinner unto this place, Jesus. Draw the sinner from north, south, east, and west into this place, God. Prepare us, Father, to receive that which walks through this door. And we just praise you and honor you, God. We praise you and we give you most honor. Thank you, Jesus.
borrow you a minute? Bring your phone with you. Your phone. Okay, I want you to stand right there and look here. Ellen, I want you to turn your back around. Let's say you're calling Ellen. You need help, you need somebody to talk to. But when you call, it's like she's got her back turned. I want to talk to you. I don't have time right now. Next, you're going to try to call Jackie. Jackie, I want you to just roll your eyes like, I ain't got time right now. Just go away. You're annoying me. And Lizzie, I want you to just stand there like, I'm hearing something. You know, I heard a phone call, I don't hear anything. Somebody called me, someone called me, I don't hear anything. How would you feel if that happened to someone you thought you had a relationship with, and that when your friends, if they just turned their back and said, whatever, the one rolled their eyes like, I ain't got time. And the other was like, How do you feel? Being that you feel rejected because you thought you had a relationship with them, and that they were there for you when they needed you. You come back around, Ellen. God wanted me to ask, not just the people in here, but the people listening, how many times has He called you? The same way you call a friend on the phone. How many times has He called out to you and said, come here a minute, I want to talk with you. I want to spend time with you. How many of us in here just go, not now, I'm busy, can you come back? Or, I ain't got time, or just ignore it. He's saying, why? You in a relationship with me? You need to talk to me. You need to take time with me. When I'm whispering in your ear, don't turn away. Don't turn your back. Don't ignore me. There's a reason for it. We can take our phones and talk all day long and text. And why can't we hear Him when He calls to us? He's not screaming and hollering. He's just saying, come here, just for a second. Take a couple of minutes with me. Just sit down and relax and listen to me. And hold, stand up a second. God has been calling you. You're not ignoring Him, and you're not putting Him on hold. But you have, just like somebody texts you a message, He is texting you messages. He says, it's not that she's not listening, or she's turned away saying, I don't have time. She just needs to check her text messages, so to speak, that I'm sending to her. Because I have a job for her to do. And it's not because you're not worthy, because you are. And He says it's time for you to understand who you are in Him. You are His daughter. Very much so. And it's like He told me, she's not ignoring me. She's just not catching the message. So He said, next time you feel this little feeling inside of you, stop what you're doing and just say, yes, Lord, I'm here. Because you're not doing this to Him. You're just not hearing it. And He says He loves you so much. And you've got so much inside of you. He said, don't hide from it, my daughter. It's not going to harm you. He said, I'm here to love you and guide you. He says, you've been back there too long. And it's time to come out. He said, don't be afraid of it. I will walk right with you, step by step. I will take baby steps with you. Because I love you that much, and you are worthy. Very much so. And if you don't feel like it, you are. He said, look not to what you feel about yourself, but look at how I look at you. That's a big difference the way you look at people. He looks at you. He looks at you as His beautiful daughter. Mercy
going to use a handheld today. My regular microphone is a rat's nest. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Father God, I thank you this morning. I thank you, Jesus. For your leading and for your anointing this morning. And I know, Lord, you're leading us in another direction. And so we follow. Faithful. Consecrated. Set apart for your purpose. We thank you for it, Lord. Lead and guide through this word this morning, Father, and give me the correct words, the right words, the effective words that will pierce, Father God. That will bring back an effect. That will bring back a harvest. Let your Spirit guide me this morning, Father God, I pray in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Thank you, Elizabeth. Turn with me, if you will, to the book of Deuteronomy, beginning in verse 34. Chapter 2, verse 34. I'm sorry, chapter 1, verse 34. Repeat after me. There is a new land before us. Joyce Meyer has a saying. She says, new levels, new devils. So I want to say again, there is a new land before us. Are you getting this? Marie, there's a new land before us. New levels, new devils. Are you hearing me? And so I want to remind you about what happened in Israel. To Israel. Not the nation, the land. I'm talking about the people, Israel. Because they are representative of the church of Jesus Christ today. There is a new land before us. When you go home today, I want you to be hearing there's a new land before us. Hallelujah. Maybe not just for you, but for this body, there is a new land before us. New levels, new devils. I want you to keep hearing that as you go through this week. As you get down on your knees and you pray before God and you ask Him for His anointing on you, you've got to remember there's a new land before us. See, a lot of us aren't getting down on our knees and we're not praying. We're not seeking God's face. How do you know that, preacher? Out front of this church we have an olive tree. Now right now it's been blown apart by a hurricane and it's hanging on by a thread. But I can tell you that you can tell what that olive tree's been doing all year long by looking at something. What do you look at? The fruit. Does the tree have fruit? It did until the hurricane blew it off. So I want you to be a fruit inspector of yourself. Don't be looking at your neighbor. You look at yourself. Are you a fruit inspector of yourself?
Yes. All right.
See, the Bible says to judge yourself. Look at yourself so that other people don't have to. See, there's a new land before us, and I know that when we go into this new land, there is a new command. There is a new direction for this church. It's a lot like the old direction, but there's something different about it. You know, there's really three different kinds of people that sit in our pews. I want you to hear this. And before I tell you this, I'm going to identify which one I've been up until now. Okay? I'm going to tell you. Hold on. There are leaders, there are sitters, and there are enablers. This is not in my notes, people. There are leaders, there are sitters, and there are enablers. Now, I am sorry to say that I have been an enabler up until this point. See, I have enabled people to sit on their rusty dusty and not do anything because they just don't feel like it. See, that's what a sitter is. In the majority of the church today, we have sitters. They're happy about sitting on their blessed assurance, as the bishop says. They're happy with that. And I'm okay with that too. You want to sit on your blessed assurance, you go right ahead, but don't expect to be pulled into leadership. Don't expect to be having the blessings of God. Don't expect to be seeing anything new in your promised land if you're going to sit on your blessed assurance. You can't get to the blessing that God gave you by sitting on your backside.
Yeah.
Oh! So this preacher's no longer going to be an enabler that lets you sit on your fat rear end and do nothing and expect God to come in and bless you. Listen, if you've got things going on in your health and you're not doing everything in your power to eat right, take care of yourself, you deserve the bad health. I'm just telling you. Listen, type 2 diabetes is not something that you've got to live with. There's a cure. It's called eat right and get some exercise. Turn your television off. Put your cell phone down. Put your cell phone down. Put your cell phone down. Oh, man. Turn your ringers off. Listen, this thing has become such a slave driver for people that we're in bondage. I go to restaurants. What are people doing?
Yep, that's right.
Boyfriends on a date. What are they doing? Girlfriends out with their bow. What are they doing? Listen, people, we got to kill the devil. Whatever happened in the old days, we had paper. When was the last time one of y'all wrote a letter? Really, think about it. We say things in the text. You keep on writing, sister. It's old school, but there's good things in old school. I believe in technology and using it, but I don't believe that the church needs to be in bondage to this crap. Enough said about that. Turn your cell phone ringer down. Turn your cell phone ringers down. I don't want to hear no ringers in church. Thank you, Mom. Ellen has been vindicated. She said, that's my notepad. Church, we're going to a new land. New levels, new devils. We can't handle the new land the way we handled the old one. See, in the old one, we were in bondage and there was a taskmaster. Remember, Israel was in bondage for 400 years. And the way that they did things then, well, you know what? When they started going across that Red Sea, there was all kinds of grumbling and complaining going on. I got to get to my text or I'm going to get way ahead of myself. Beginning in verse 34, Deuteronomy chapter 1. And the Lord heard the sound of your words and was angry and took an oath, saying, surely not one of these men of this evil generation, lazy generation, bad, dumb, and happy generation, shall see the good of the land which I swore. Listen, we got to work. What? Work. That's a four-letter word in this generation. How do you know that? Because I was an employer. I was one who used to interview people, and when you started talking about work ethic, you didn't have anybody for the second interview.
Yep.
Bible says, by the sweat of your brow. That didn't stop just because we got blessed. It just means now our work will be blessed. Instead of kind of bringing forth nothing, now we have the ability to bring forth fruit. At which point did God sit down on his laurels, other than on the Sabbath? At which point did God himself sit back on his laurels and wait for everything to get done? He didn't. God was busy at it. Remember I told her a lesson about how the Bible says in the beginning. And I told you that in the beginning is not what you think it is. It is in the beginning of beginnings. In other words, that beginning is not just the beginning, it is the beginning of. In the beginning of your ministry, in the beginning of this church, in the beginning of your life, in the beginning of the new life, in the beginning of your salvation, in the beginning of is what that true statement is. It's not in the beginning, it's in the beginning of. Which means that it's continuous. It is still going today. God is still creating, but He's doing something different today. He's doing something different because He's using you as the one who speaks the word, as the one who prays things forth, as the one who gets it done with your hands, as the one who gets it done with your praise, as the one who gets... Listen, this goes right back to sitting on the blessed assurance. I wish I had a DA like my preacher had. He'd shake his head and his hair would wiggle back and forth. It's very effective, I'm sure. You remember Pastor Dixon? You remember that how his hairstyle came in the back? And when he'd shake his head, you could see it wiggling in the back. Looked like a Dutch backside. I need one of those.
No.
Hallelujah. I love my pastor. Love my pastor. New land. New levels. New levels. There's going to be something different about what comes about. But we can't do it the way we did. Get back on track, preacher. Okay. Surely not one of these men of this evil generation shall see, that's better, that good land of which I swore to give to their fathers, except for Caleb, son of Jephunneh, he shall see it, and to him, what about Joshua? He's coming, just hold on. Gotcha. He shall see it, and to him and his children I am giving the land in which he walked, because he wholly followed the Lord. See, Joshua and Caleb came back, and they remembered how Israel went out, and with Aaron and Hur holding up Moses' arms, defeated their enemy. They remembered as they walked through the promised land, looking at the grapes that were as big as beach balls, a bunch of grapes, one bunch of grapes that took 2 men to carry. 2 men. That's big grapes. That's a bunch of grapes. You look at our grapes now, what are they? Shoot. One man carried a whole bunch of grapes. A whole bunch of bunches. So Joshua and Caleb saw the good of the land. They came back and said, surely the land is flowing with milk and honey. By the way, if you have not had a glass of milk with honey in it, you are missing out. That is some kind of good. Just thought I'd put that little word out there. See, everybody thinks it's milk and honey. It's milk and honey. It is flowing with milk. Sweet milk. Good milk. It is flowing with good milk. And big grapes. Oh, it's better than buttermilk. Buttermilk has this good stuff. Go on, you got to try it. Go home, get you a glass of milk. Just use a little glass. Put you a teaspoon of honey in there, stir it up. And I'm telling you, it's good. I had to try it. I read it in the Bible. I said, wonder what that tastes like. You can learn. The preacher knows some good things. So Joshua and Caleb came back and they saw the good of the land. Except that the other people, when they came back, they said, but there's giants in the land. Just a second now. God's telling us to take the land. Listen now. Listen very carefully. God is telling us to take the land. Oh, I want you to pay close attention to this. That word this morning was for you. I want you to pay very close attention. Joshua and Caleb saw that the land was good. The Israelites also saw that the land was good. But the other Israelites also saw that there was giants in the land. There was an obstruction. There was something that they were fearing. They was afraid of the thing that stood between them and the promised land. As a matter of fact, that thing that stood between them and the promised land stood flat on the promised land. No. Target. Look, I want to tell you something. We watched a movie. Batman. It was Batman. Bruce Wayne. Mom and Dad gone. Feeling bad. Feeling sorry for himself. Listen, this is good. Feeling sorry for himself. We're going to start confiscating cell phones at that. Bruce Wayne feeling sorry for himself. Figures he's going to figure out how to fight and be the biggest, baddest hombre of them all. He's handling things in his flesh. I want you to see the similarity here between God and man and all that. I want you to see it. He decides he's going to go handle things in the flesh. So he gets out there, he learns how to be the biggest, baddest hombre. He finds himself in a Korean or whatever, what nation was that? Some Asian nation's prison. And the biggest, baddest dude of the whole bunch comes up. He says, "You in hell, Ichi man, and I am a devil." How many of y'all seen you ever seen Waterproof, the movie Waterproof? You see sugar in front. Remember Sanford and Sons? Okay, well, what was his name? Grady. Grady was sugar. And he's standing there, no teeth in his mouth. And he's telling his story. And the devil comes up to him and says, "I'm going to get you. What you say about that?" And Grady says, "I suppose I'm going to take you out." Bruce Wayne looks at the Chinese man and says, "You're not the devil. You're a practice." And they went at it. And next thing you know, there's 17 guys laying on the ground, and they're coming after Bruce Wayne with guns. That is you and me. When this stuff comes against us, when the stuff that we've got, when that thing, listen and hope, when that thing rises up and says you're going to be afraid of this and you're not going to step into your destiny, you stand up and say, "You're practice."
Yes.
When Joshua went into the promised land, what was the first city he took? The biggest one. The biggest and the baddest city. When David conquered and started being a leader of Israel, what did he do? He conquered the giant. The biggest and the baddest one right up there in front. You know why? You know why you conquer the big? You know why we're conquering booty after this.
Okay, now.
It's time to kick some devil booty.
Come on.
It is time that we got up off our blessed assurance and started doing what we're supposed to be doing. Or we will never see the promise of God manifest in our lives. How do you know that? It says so right here. Not one of these, the Bible calls us evil if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We look at the fear instead of looking at it in faith. God calls us evil. That ain't the sinner out on the street that's evil, it's you. It's the church. Why? Because we won't get out of our own way and go outside and start getting them guys that are outside. We won't reach out to our neighbor and start ministering to them, even when they don't like you. You won't pray for your neighbor when they're mad at you because they're mad at you. I'll be doggone if I'm going to do something for my neighbor, they mad at me. They said something to me that I didn't like. They did something to me that I don't care for. I'm not praying for them.
Preach.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I am telling the truth. Listen, I want to tell you something.
All right now.
Listen. I'm preaching, I am preaching, and so just so you know, you're not the only one receiving this word.
That's it. Amen. That's right.
Because all during the week, my family and I hear this. Hey, can you help me? And instead, listen, I'm just being real. If we're going to get to the next level, we've got to get real with God. And the people that come against us, when they come for help, we've got to say, I can't help you with silver and gold. But what I do have, I can help you with. I've got Jesus. What do you got?
Amen.
I've got peace in my life. But before you start throwing that around, you best make sure you carry that peace. I can heal. I've got healing. You better make sure you're walking in healing before you start trying to offer it to somebody else. Because silver and gold you might not have, but what you do have, you can give them. Do you want to give them what you got? Really? Hold on a second now. Be real careful about that. Do you want other people to have that misery and that mess that you've got in your life? Think about your marriage and your relationship. Just go right to your house. Right to your house. Do you want other people to have the relationship that you have with your family and your husband, or your wife, or your children, or your grandma, or your grandpa? Is your life an example? I'm just saying, before we start pointing at the speck in somebody else's eye, we better start looking at the plank in ours.
Come on.
Yeah.
Man, I'm preaching this morning.
Oh, yes, you are.
I'm trying, sister. I am trying. And I will succeed. I might not have a church when I'm done, but I will succeed. That devil will be dead. Because God is helping us to conquer Jericho in the new land. Remember, we're going to a new land. And we are looking at a walled city that is great and mighty. And it's a big place. And it's the strongest city of the land of the time.
Yes.
Be like you and me going up to New York City and say, I'm taking you. Devil going, really? This is going to be good. I can tell. Listen, from the time that you are born again until the time you die, you're going to come up against 40 kings.
Yeah.
Some of us are afraid of the first one. Some of us are afraid to conquer ourselves. We won't quit being an enabler. I'm not enabling you anymore. I want you to pay attention because I'm going to have higher expectations of every single one of you in here. That's it, I'm gone. Why is that? Because I see greater potential in you than you ever saw in yourself. There's a reason why God called you Moses. Start leading them out. But remember, Moses was in front of them, having already been led out. Are you getting this? Yes. There's something coming. You need to be ready. The devil is coming against you. He is trying to have his way, and you have got to rise up and be the one that is the victor. When I first met you, you was in a wheelchair. Look at the progress you've made. Don't stop where you're at.
Amen. Right.
I felt that.
Don't quit now. Don't quit now. Yeah.
Holy mackerel. Lord, Lord. Joshua, the son of Nun, who stands before you, he shall go in there, encourage him. This is God talking to Moses. For he shall cause Israel to inherit it. Moreover, your little ones and your children who you say will be victims, who today have no knowledge of good and evil, they shall go in there. In other words, the spiritual children that you've got are going to see the promised land. If you don't do it, if you don't go, you're going to miss it. See, Israel's already missed it. This is God's word to Israel. Because you've done all this stuff, it's already done. And this is God telling them, you've messed up, this is what you've done, this is what's going on, and this is who's still getting to go. Now Moses was an enabler. The big words, preacher. I'm telling you, Moses was an enabler. I don't want to be a Moses. Because I'm too old to be walking around this stinking mountain for another 40 years.
Amen. Amen.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
You know which mountain I'm talking about. I am not going around this mountain again.
Yes.
Are you hearing me? See, Moses, when the people of Israel did this, God says, I'm going to kill them, I'm going to give y'all new people. It's quiet in here, ain't it? Moses goes, wait, don't do that. Those are your people. They're your friends. Don't do that. What will the people around you say when you kill all your friends? I'm just telling you, this is my paraphrase. This is me speaking in today's language. But this is Moses talking to God. No, don't kill them. What will the other nations say? That you brought your people out here to kill them? I said, okay. I'm not limited by time, you are. I want you to see this. Moses is already old. You forget that he's already been wandering around the wilderness. The same land that he had the Israelites in, he's been wandering around in for years when he got kicked out of Egypt. Then he sees God in this burning bush. What a sign. I want to see a burning bush. No, you don't. God help us if we get to the point where we got to see a burning bush to hear God. That's bad. That's bad. If it's burning bush line, we're in dire straits. We're not hearing from God. God's not going to send you a burning bush every time He wants you to take a left turn or a right turn.
Yeah.
You listen, I want you to hear me. I want you to hear me good. You already know what you should do. You already know. You already know that people, even children know Jesus Christ is, there's a real thing in God. They know, intrinsic, it's inbred into them. It's part of our DNA that we know there's a God. And it's not until a tragedy happens in our lives that we turn away and say, there's no God. God wouldn't do that. And then we become atheist or agnostic. I grew up without a daddy. Get over it. I'm just being real. I sympathize with you. I know what it's like to have daddy walk out of your life. I get it. I get it. But you've got a choice to make. Are you going to let your daddy curse you for the rest of your life because of his actions? Or are you going to walk in your own anointing?
Come on.
Let's try to be grown-ups. Where was I? Joshua and Caleb going into the promised land. We can listen to God and we can go. We can say no. You don't have to do this. But you will die in the wilderness. Bottom line. Bottom line, you will die in the wilderness and you will never see your promise. God has given you the tools. God has given you the authority to use them. Remember, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. But there are things that happen in the physical that are representative of what is going on in the spirit. In other words, your physical life is a mirror image of what's going on in the spirit. Ooh. Is this too tough? Am I being too strong? No? Go back to my word, stay on track, or I'll get lost. Go maybe different directions. Moreover, your little ones and your children, who you say will be victims, who today have no knowledge of good and evil, they shall go in there, and to them I will give it, but they shall possess it. But as for you, turn and take your journey into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. They've already been across the Red Sea. Guess where they're going back to? That's as far as they get. They wander around the mountains around the Red Sea for 40 years. Then you answered and said to me, we have sinned against the Lord. We will go up and fight, just as the Lord our God commanded us. And when every one of you has girded on his weapons of war, you be ready. And the Lord said to me, tell them, do not go up nor fight, for I am not among you. Did you hear that?
Not even there.
You on your own. You want to go up and fight? I already told you to go up and fight. You were disobedient. Now you're walking in it. Church, I am a believer in grace, but I'm also a believer that God fires a shot across the bow before we have to go to someplace we don't want to go. Just because we got grace don't mean we can go and do whatever we want for as long as we want. There is a limit. God will turn you over. Marie even said it. Go ahead and say it out loud, Marie. Church, reprobate mind thing, that's New Testament. That's after Jesus. That's after the resurrection. That's after the book of Acts. That is today. That is now. That is a right now turn. And we're watching as pastors and church leaders are being turned over to reprobate minds left and right. Church leaders are being turned. Listen, I want to tell you something. Sexual immorality, there are pastors and church leaders everywhere that are falling to the lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. Instead of staying focused on the things of God. Everywhere. What's happening to the leaders? What's happening to the flock? That's why the divorce rate in the church is as much or more than it is outside the church. Or what the world calls the church. Because what the world sees as the church is not the church. There is a remnant that still is, that is the church. And that's those that are on fire for Jesus Christ and are battling for the kingdom. That's the church. I don't know what this other stuff is. Some of them are sinners and some of them are enablers. But I don't want to be one of them. I want to lead. I want to be in the battle. I want to be seeing fruit in my life. I don't want to waste my life on the lust of the eye, lust of the flesh, and the pride of life and go through this thing in fear. I'm not having it. I ain't doing it. Everybody in here has experiences. What happens if? And we get all tore up about all this stuff that hasn't happened, but we're worried about it happening. What are we going to do? Has it happened yet? No. Then don't worry about it. What's Jesus tell you? Don't worry about tomorrow. Today has its own worries. Worry about today. Take care of today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Look at what's right in front of you right now. Conquer that giant, and then don't worry about the other one down the road. Because the other one down the road is probably smaller than the one you're trying to kick right now. I'm just saying. How's your blessed assurance feeling? Can I tell you something? Some of us have been on our butts so long, our butts are numb. They don't know that they're hurting. What stands before us? What stands before us? A new land. Who said it? I have one person paying attention. We ain't got done preaching yet. You already lost it. It's a new land. Y'all need to go back and listen to this again. There's a new land before us. So I spoke to you. That you would not listen, rebelled against the command of the Lord, and presumptuously went up into the mountain. And the Amorites who dwelt in the land of the mountain came out against you and chased you as bees do, and drove you back from Seir to Hormah. What they did was they didn't listen to God. They said, God, that can't be a word from God. I'm not receiving that because it goes against how I feel. I'm finna go somewhere and it's going to be ugly. We wonder why homosexuality abounds in America because ain't none of us got it back. Men won't be men. And women are trying to be men. Listen, I don't fault you ladies for having to take the place that a man stands in. Because most men don't stand in their place. They leave their post. And somebody has to occupy it. And that's why the church is full of women. And it's not just this church. It's across the body of Christ. Because women have had to step in. Listen, it started back in the Dark Ages when all the men went to war, and back in the early parts of this nation, when the men were drafted, they were taken in, and families were left with no men in the house. And the men that were there, listen, gentlemen, I want you to hear me loud and clear. Gentlemen, I want you to hear me. Because when the women had to take over the place of the men in the house, there were no men that stood up and said, I'll stand in the gap. So now we have fatherless children all over our nation. Therein is the single greatest tragedy of this nation. All the men out there trying to be macho. Keep your pistol in your pants until you're ready to be a man. Because there's responsibility that goes with pulling that bad boy out. Just preaching. And those of us that are still standing, we need to wear multiple hats, gentlemen. You can't just be a lazy Christian today. It's not going to happen. You can't be lazy and a Christian. Not today. Put your britches on. Take off the lace panties. Take off the psychedelic underwear. This ain't the 60s anymore. It's time to graduate. Woodstock is over. It's not coming back. There's more to what you're responsible for than being a sperm donor, gentlemen. We need you to rise up and be a man. I don't care how young you are. I don't care how old you are. You need to buck up and be a man. And that means learning about the things of God. That means, you might have to read a book. God forbid we should have men. Well, I just look at the pictures. Unless it's Playboy. Those I read the articles. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Hypocrite. You know what it was that took men down in the Garden of Eden? Man chose a woman over God. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the foundation of pornography. Because men will choose the pornography over godliness. Men will choose, men will choose, I don't have to, I said it already. Men will choose to spend time with a woman over spending time with God. And not necessarily his wife. What? You mean you're going to interfere with my lust on the side? You're going to interfere with my stuff on the side? Yes, sir, I'm interfering with the stuff on your side. Lest you reproduce yourself. And God didn't tell you that you would add. God told you that you would multiply. So now you've got multiples. The curses of the parents are repeated upon the children for 4 generations. How many is 4 generations? That's your children, your children's children, your children's children's children, and your children's children's children. 4 generations. Now, if all they do is add, it's still a heck of a lot of people that are affected by the curse that you do today. We had a young man get baptized last week, and as he was being baptized, this is what the Lord said. The waters were turbulent. Am I telling the truth? It was rough. We're trying to baptize in the waters. Get knocked over. It was rough water. The enemy was trying to come for him. And just like the waves have to stop at the shore, that's where he was being baptized, at the shore. The enemy would stop at that point and he wouldn't progress. The young man's name meant coast. Not coast downhill, the coast. The oceans have been able to get past the coast, but they've always had to recede back. Because of the authority of the coast. And I'll tell you the same thing. The enemy may come like a flood. But my Bible says, like a flood, the Lord will raise up a standard. But how does he raise a standard? I'm just going to sit here and wait for God to raise up a standard. My enemies surrounded me, so I'm just going to sit here and wait on God to take care of it. That's what His Word says. The devil's having his way with my children. Gentlemen. But I know God's going to raise up a standard. Then why did He give you the keys?
Right, that's right.
Why did He give you the authority? Why did He give you the power? You're the one that's supposed to do it. Listen, the disciples were running around saying, everybody's hungry. What are you going to do, God? God says, I ain't going to do nothing. Here, you do it. Are we being real enough? How's your number? I'm just putting it out there now, right? I'm not even calling blessing the church now. It's just known. Church, God expects more from us than what we have done. He's very gracious. He really is. But that word that was out there for hope this morning, that wasn't just for hope. There's a lot of us that walk in it. There is so much that needs to be done that if I was, and I am here full time, we can't keep up with it. Can I tell you how Ellen and I started out in ministry? Back in the old days. When there was still paper. This is probably before we had tablets and stuff. I don't even think smartphones were existing. I still had a flip phone, like Star Trek. Every church we went to, who do you think was the first ones in the door? We weren't even pastors. We weren't even called. Well, we hadn't received the call yet. We had it, but we weren't obeying it. I was in that period between the time when Moses was told that he was the deliverer and when it actually manifested. I was in that zone there. I had seen the burning bush yet. Who turned the lights off at the church at night? And I'm not talking about this church. This was years ago. I mean, years and years ago. Years ago. When services were over, Ellen and me and Lizzie and Will would go to the church. We would clean the church. We would clean the toilets and make sure that everything was ready to go. We went to that church not long ago. Actually, it was a while back. When we walked into the church, it was dirty. It smelled bad in the bathrooms. That never happened on our watch. Never. Never. We can't do it all. We can't be the ones that are chief cook and bottle washers about this church. We can't be. I can't be here and be out there and be praying and seeking God's face. It can't be done. So it's time for the church to stand up and start being the church. It's time that we got away from being the sinners, because this preacher is no longer going to be the neighbor. If you want to see God's blessing in your life, then you better give Him something to bless.
Amen.
Does that make sense? Faithfulness is number one. You know what? I have been in this church 4 days after a severe motorcycle accident where I had broken ribs, dislocated shoulder, and a huge black eye because I destroyed a motorcycle helmet. 4 days later, I was here. I couldn't even lift my arm. Linda's husband had to help me get my guitar on because I couldn't get it on. I couldn't lift my arm. 4 years later, my arm was still in pain. Just to give you an idea, it was severe. I had a broken rib in the front, and I had 2 of them dislocated in my back. You know, where your rib cage comes and connects with your back. Every time I breathed, I could feel the ribs separate and come back. every time. And I was on the way. One morning I had pneumonia. I was sitting in the office, the old office, and it was all I could do just to keep myself. I want to test this. And the lights off, everything was off. The pastor from behind us comes over to visit. Isn't it like, the devil sends somebody in just to see how you look at your works? Really? I preached that morning with 104 degree temperature. I'm just putting this out there. If I offend you, I'm not sorry anymore. I expect more. Because you are a child of God. Well, I got a headache today.
My throat's a little scratchy. I'm staying home.
I had a bad night. Really? People bang on our door at 2 o'clock in the morning, so drunk at the door. We got to go out and perform the next day, and you're just a little tired because you had a rough night. Really? There's no faithfulness there. There is no strength, there's no power, and there's no backbone. You must get to a place where you conquer the devil that's trying to come against you, or every little wind that comes along is going to blow you down. Church, we've got to have better roots than what we've got. I want with all my heart to see this church break into full-blown revival, but we don't have the staff to do it. When revival starts happening, when true revival starts happening, there will be an explosion in this church. And we've got to have the church people, the systems, and everything. I don't care how old you are. Do a little job if you can't get around too good. But everybody's got to be on board. Everybody. And I'm sorry, I don't have enough men in this church to handle what we've got to handle. We don't have it. I'm praying for Rex to get a new job that's not going to tie him up on Sundays every once in a while. Because he needs to, it's not good. When we're here one Sunday and we're gone the next, that's not a good image. That's not showing faithfulness. When we tithe one week and we don't tithe the next because, well, things are a little tight. Where's your faith? Are you trusting in God? Listen, I left a $60,000 a year job to come here full time. We haven't had a paycheck. I'm walking in faith. I'm still showing up for church. I'm still doing everything I can. And I will conquer this thing. Yes, ma'am. Because He's given us the authority. He has given us the tools. He has given us the way. And all we need to do is follow what He's telling us to do. This church, and let me take some, look around. We got a lot of people missing. Barbara George is missing. We've got Johnny and his wife. Who else is missing, Liz?
April.
April's missing?
She had to work though.
It's time for it. Man, I'm telling you, it is time. It is time. We've got to get on the ball with this. Almost half the men are out today. In fact, almost half of the men are out today. Now, granted, George and Barbara are away on vacation. They're up and traveling around the country and enjoying their retirement. The rest of us ought to be here. Really, truly, Barbara George ought to be here too. Just say it. Lead or lead? Lead. I choose lead. Lead or lead? Lead them right way or lead them wrong way? I love Barbara George. Just talking into the mic so you can hear me now. Y'all still love me? Let me ask you a question. I want you to think about this for a second. If we misbehave, let me put that differently. If things were working the way they're supposed to, if your children get out of line, do you not spank them? What happens when you don't? Oh, you're teaching people to be abusive to children. No, I'm telling you, spare the rod, spoil the child. You know why my kids are the way they are? Because when they was little and they did things they weren't supposed to, I tan their fanny. Yes, ma'am. And I want to tell you, your grandkids are some of the best children I have ever met. All of them. All of them. They've got their bumps in the road that they got to go through, and they're supposed to go through those bumps, so they're not going to have faith in God to get them through trial. But I'm telling you, they are the most mannerly, respectful young adults that I have ever met. They remind me of my children. And you've got another batch coming up right behind them that are just like it. I love you enough not to leave you where you are. And if today's message has rubbed you the wrong way, I'm sorry, but I see greatness. Look at me, everybody. Look at me. That word wasn't just for a select few. I love you, and I see greatness in you, all of you. A lot of you have been through some of the biggest trials that would have buried other people. Now God wants you to use your victories the way that David did with his lion and his bear, and then go after Goliath. Take him out. I don't know who Goliath is. What are you afraid of? Let me ask you that. Now you know what your Goliath is. They might leave. What have you lost? Really? Toughen up. Toughen up. Start following after the Lord. You know what God's Word is. Everybody, you guys know the Word of God. You know the Word of God. Some of y'all tell me about the Word of God. Sometimes when I need it, I hear it from my congregation. Pastor, ain't that right, Cindy? Yes. My son, in the middle of a service, called me a chicken. Miss Cindy said, Father, I pray for and I bless each and every one under the sound of my voice with the heart of the Lion of Judah. Lord, I know that the leaders of the Old Testament and the New Testament both, Father God, I know that they had fear in their hearts. But Lord, their faith caused them to overcome the fear. Yeah. I pray, Lord, for each and every soul under the sound of my voice, that the courage that Joshua was told to have would fill their hearts. And they would look upon Jericho of their life, the Jericho of their life, the first place they need to conquer, and they would progress towards it as Joshua did. They would prepare. They would rally the troops. They would cleanse themselves, and then they would take the land. I thank you for it, Lord, for that anointing on each and every one. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you. Linda, there's a place that you need to start with. You know exactly where it is. Go home and hug that place's neck for me. I bless you all. We'll see you here Wednesday night. Leadership.